Okay, it's waiting. I pulled it up. Come on.
How long does it usually take after
It
you?
takes like a few seconds. It takes sometimes it'll take 15 to 30 seconds. You might be right. I might just have to do it without YouTube. I didn't even create a new one. This is the one that they gave me, and they put it on YouTube, and then they're over here saying that it won't work, and then not. Well, I mean, not
Oh,
they're
we're
not
live. We're
saying.
live. We're live. We're
Oh
live.
shoot. Oh, I did not see that. Okay, okay, okay. Never mind. I got it. Okay, that one worked there. I'll use that next time. Okay, let me make sure. Is the volume up and all that? You know.
Let me play it off my phone.
Okay.
Yes. It's
Okay.
there is a bit of a delay, but it's fine.
Well, I mean, that's sometimes when we're on the stream, it'll do that with me too. Whenever I'm on, but they work fine. All right, let me go ahead. Let me send it to back to Snap real quick, and I got to send it to my family group because my mom was wanting me to because some people.
Yeah.
All right, boom, and then all right, we only got to think a few people here.
Oh, I tried to put in the live chat and I accidentally just put in the Riverside chat. That's my bad.
Oh no, it's fine. It's not connect. I guess sometimes it's not connect. Okay. All right, we got so far getting more people.
There we are.
Hold on a second. Let me delete this one because that one is the old link. This one needs to be on the new link. Okay, think now everything's settled. Hold on real quick.
Right.
Hey, we're back live now. It was technical difficulties. It's okay. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Here, let me test if I can hear my voice on the
Okay.
stream.
If you want to put on Instagram about the backup or
Yep,
something, you
we're
can.
we're we're good. Mine's working.
Okay. If you want to put on Instagram or something, like saying there was a delay, we're back up now or something, you can.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm just trying to make sure it kind of fed through because I didn't like that happening before. Okay, there's 7 watching now. I think
All
everyone's
right.
fine now.
We might as well get. We might as
We
well
go,
get
might as
started.
well go. It was like one person, and I'm like, okay, now I guess everyone found it. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, Dog Squad, we're here. Finally got technical difficulties out of the way. First time running with the studio. We're finally back up. I got my bud here, Travis. He'll be going to Oklahoma State with me. He's not rooming me with me, but he will be doing sports media. He'll be in my media house, or no, not my media house, but he will be doing sports media, and hoping to join the media house next year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But we're gonna be doing. We got our college football stream from last year. We did this, and now we're back here with another one here for 2026. I'm excited for this football season especially as an Oklahoma State fan. Not as a Hogs fan. Not really as a Razorback fan, but Oklahoma State fan. I am. Going to college and all that.
Hmm.
I'm excited for that. Before we get into it, yeah, I got my Den Boys Cowboys report on Instagram. Travis has got his Instagram. Travis Talks CFB or CFB. I'll put that link in the description after because I couldn't do that before because we were trying to get this set up. But go follow those accounts on Instagram. More college football. Got also lots of more content coming soon. Or more content for the NFL. We got the NFL stream coming this Thursday. One of my other buds from that will be joining me on the NFL stream around 3 o'clock on Thursday. But we'll talk about more of that at the end of the stream. All right, Travis. So let's go ahead and get going on this one.
Let's do it, man.
All right. Uh,
Annette
okay.
Moreland, thank you for hopping in the live chat. What's up?
Thank you, Annette. Let's see. Okay, so we've got in this show, we're gonna be doing every Power Four conference with 4 questions each for that one. I think it was about 4. We got conference champion picks. We got award predictions. We got about 5. We got about 3 of the major ones or 2 of the major ones, and then we've got 3 individual position ones that they hand out at the end of the year, and they got the national champion prediction, the big one. Travis might have already spoiled his back on his old video, back on the video I reacted to the other day, but we'll go ahead and see if he's changed that at any point, if you didn't see it, well, you'll get to see it this stream. But here we go. We're gonna start off here. Thank you for everyone that's joining here to the stream. Okay. We're gonna start off with the SEC, and I'll go ahead and talk. I'll go ahead and talk first. The SEC is a conference that has not won a championship in a few years since I believe was it Georgia the last one?
Yes, it was 2023.
The 2023.
Wait, no, 2022 with Georgia.
The 2022 year, yeah, the one they beat. No, it was 23 because they beat. Well, I guess the 22 season, and I guess you could count 23.
Yeah, because 23 was Michigan.
Yeah, because the one they whooped TCU 65-7. That one. So and they have not won since the Big Ten has taken over. They have struggled in the playoffs. They did in the last year, but they are a very competitive team. Travis, every single or conference every single year that have had stacked teams. But they've had trouble when it gets down to the postseason. I didn't mention this before the stream, but I kind of want to, before every conference, kind of go over what's your overall thoughts on this conference, going into the season. Do you think the SEC can kind of get better, in terms of against other conferences this year? Do you think they'll succeed better, you think?
So I think they can, right? And I think that the SEC and the Big Ten are both just going to be really good. Like, obviously, I think the talent depth of the SEC, I don't know if the depth is as good as people kind of say it is. I think people kind of overblow it a little bit. But they're going to be good, and they're always good. I think the issue that the SEC is going to have is that since you're going to a 9-game conference schedule, right, a lot of these teams are just going to beat up on each other, right? And how is that going to affect them come playoff time? Are we going to see a 9-3 team from the SEC get in the playoffs? Are we going to see a 9-3 team from the Big Ten get in the playoffs? It's all going to be relative based on what the conference schedules are actually going to do to these teams. That normally you kind of could say, okay, you have one tough non-conference game, you play 8 conference games, and you're going to play maybe 3 or 4 tough games in there. You go 3-2 in those games, you're probably in the playoff, as long as you take care of business.
I think so, because the committee loves the SEC. We saw that with some hate from Alabama. In fact, the past 2 years we've had hey, Bama didn't make it, they should have, not SMU. And then last year they were like, hey, Bama shouldn't have made it. It should have been Notre Dame, which Bama proved that. They beat Oklahoma, they beat another SEC school. But, there's been some debate every year. The past 2 years in the college football playoff, we've had, they had that big win, and they had 3 losses, and then you have the other side they had 3 losses. There's a different side to it. But definitely beating the other ranked teams in the SEC, and then you have that one conference game from the beginning of the year. That's good. That could either hurt you or help you, kind of like what Bama did with Florida State. People are putting that against them. And, I think that will be the discussion to see if the SEC, how many teams will get in there, and then will they be able to compete against some of those other teams? And because we know the Big Ten has those teams that are really high. They're very good teams. They're the ones that are very high in potential championship contenders. That's the thing compared to the SEC, where it's, hey, you have a lot of stacked teams, but are they capable of winning a title? So that's kind of where it goes. But I think they're always competitive. But the first one is one of the teams I think that have been falling off past 2 years, especially it looked like they weren't going to the first year of Josh Heupel, and when they had Hendon Hooker, is the Vols. What's their deal going to be? And I think fully, my understanding is, they're QB trouble right now. I think that's going to be a question. Their SEC opponents, obviously we talked about the SEC being stacked. When you drop throughout an offseason, when you drop into the season and you're not as good as you used to be, all those other opponents are going to start rising, and that's going to be tougher. And then you also have some defensive issues with the Vols. But with Josh, head coach, I still think they're a bowl-eligible team. and then potentially maybe go 8-4, one maybe go 9-4. But what are you seeing in the Vols this year?
So the issue with a team like Tennessee, right, is that in the SEC with them going to 9 conference games and you having so many teams in that 5 to 11 range that could be decent. You say could be 8, 9 win teams. They can't all win 8 to 9 games,
No.
right? There's going to be teams that play well below their expectations and even well below their talent level. I think Tennessee's kind of going to fall under that. Like,
Hmm.
I think Tennessee, if you want to say their offense is going to be good because Heupel always puts out a good offense, fine, okay? Their defense last year did not give up less than 30 points to a single SEC team. Their defense was, I think, bottom 3 in the
Yeah.
SEC. And you're probably throwing Faison Brandon out there at quarterback, who is a true freshman. I think he'd be the first true freshman that Josh Heupel would ever start at Tennessee. And I think Tennessee just has way too many question marks, especially across receiver room and defensive back, to where I can really comfortably say, oh, yeah, they're going to win 7 to 8 games, right? I think I have Tennessee at like 5 wins right now, and I'm struggling to find a place where I can say wholeheartedly, yes, they're going to win another game to get to 7 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, the question marks, that was definitely something I agree about. I don't really know. I couldn't tell you what this Tennessee team is going to be like because, like you said, they've got a lot of weaknesses. Their defense, that's going to be a struggle. This year just might be one of those years that we're not used to seeing Tennessee have. We're not used to seeing like last year. They went what that 7 or 8 wins. This year could
Mm-hmm.
be a little different. I can maybe still see it them making a bowl game, but they're also like you have another point. They also could potentially be a team that they could just flat out just not be good enough this year, and just we'll have to see what happens with Tennessee. But it's going to be definitely very unusual for Vols fans and any SEC team, SEC fan or any fan in the college football world to be seeing a team like Tennessee, who just only a few years ago was or a couple years ago was in the college football playoff, and then now they've fallen off since that Ohio State game. But we'll just have to see what goes on. Next up is one of my teams, the Hogs, Arkansas. Last year they had Pittman at head coach, Bobby Petrino at offensive coordinator, Taylor Green, who potentially could have been a Heisman candidate. At one point, they had one of the worst defenses in the country, and they had a very talented offense. And Taylor Green was good, but he also had some decision making issues. Now you're bringing in with a quarterback of KJ Jackson, who potentially, with also some other quarterbacks behind him, trying to find out if they can get a starting job, as well as a big transfer portal, uh, you know, upgrade for Arkansas. But really, is it enough for them to win a conference game with this tough of an SEC schedule, with the number one toughest schedule in college football? And do you see Travis any winnable games? I think I see a few. You got Vandy, or they're not as good anymore. You got, we'll see what Auburn's probably gonna be good. South Carolina's gonna be better. Tennessee won't be as good, and Arkansas beats Tennessee usually. Do you see any of those being wins for Arkansas this year?
So I see 2 places for them to really cash in conference, and it's South Carolina and Missouri. I
Mm-hmm.
am super low on Missouri.
Really?
I think Missouri's O line's taking a huge hit, and I don't believe Austin Simmons is a starting caliber quarterback as much as I like
No.
the guy. South Carolina just out, so their big three is good. They don't have anybody else. That O line is not good. Their defensive backs are terrible, especially after losing Kilgore to the NFL. They, if Arkansas wants to try to capitalize as much as they can first year Silverfield, I think South Carolina and Missouri are going to be like your 2 games, like where you are either going to be less than a 4 point dog or you're just going to be straight up favorites. I
You
think that's going to be your biggest like chance to get not only maybe not easy conference wins, but like manageable conference
Yeah.
wins.
And you see Vandy and Tennessee being losses?
I think Vandy just being on the road. I think that's
Yeah,
just.
and that's
I
true.
think
And
I think that Vandy's gonna get a couple SEC wins in there, and I think Curtis by then is going to be the starter, even though
hmm
they have their, I think Blaze Baum. I don't even know his last name,
yeah,
but I think he's projected to be the starter at least to
hmm
open the year, and then I think by like week 6, I think Curtis will roll in, and I
okay,
think
yeah,
Vandy will win a couple games with Curtis. Um, and then Tennessee, as much as I don't like Tennessee, I just don't see them dropping Arkansas again.
yeah. They're gonna want it more. They were almost in about a shootout last year in Knoxville, and
Hmm.
Tennessee was, but they also had their own struggles, and Arkansas. Well, last year they were one of the. They honestly could have had a completely different season, potentially near the playoffs if they had won a lot of those games that were one score. But they couldn't finish. They didn't have a defense, and a lot of people blamed on Pittman. And yeah, he had that
Are
problem
you
the year
coping?
before.
Are you coping talking about
No, no, no,
this?
no. They had the year before. I'm just saying they. You have to admit one score games. If they win all those, which you can maybe say that, but I'm just saying that's how close they were, and it was heartbreaking. And Pittman was to blame because he was doing that the year before. You know, he was blown. They were blowing leads, and that's kind of how I remember we did that with Bielema. When he started showing signs, we fired him. So hopefully, and then after that, you brought in Chad Morris, who people are now starting to get comparing to Ryan Silverfield.
You've got to be just coping at this point.
Coping with what?
Coping with
what
y'all
part?
not being good.
Oh, trust me, I'm not expecting us to be good this year either. So I
Oh,
mean, I'm just more hyped on Razorback basketball. So yeah, just I'm that's my main concern. Football is like just something to watch. Hope they do well. Hope they make a bowl game. If they hope they
sure.
make 5 wins with Silverfield. No, I'm just saying they were close last year to winning more games, but I'm not surprised they didn't because it's Arkansas. Football. They like to do that stuff. But if you want to call me Copen, it's okay because they weren't winning. It's okay. I'm not expecting to win much this year. But thanks for all the people tuning in the chat. I don't know if we had new chats. We're tuning into the stream. We got 6 people here. All right. Next up, you and me and Travis talked about Arch Manning a lot. Um, will he live the hype? I think potentially with Arch Manning, I think he could. I think he honestly could be a top. He's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I think this year, but I don't think he has. I don't think he's going to win Heisman. Spoiler alert. We will have that in a bit with the Heisman voting, but I don't think he's going to win Heisman. He might be a Heisman candidate. He might get the hype because of his relatives. But he's gonna put. He's gonna have. He can run the ball well. He has had some weaknesses, in terms of passing, but he can still make great plays. We saw him towards the end of last year, especially in the Citrus Bowl against Michigan. Yes, I know there were some backups, but he showed potential. He did it against the Hogs, who again had a terrible defense. He showed potential though, beginning last year, and Steve Sarkisian knows that. He's been developing him this offseason. So I think he can. But I don't think he's going to be the hype as in, hey, all these ESPN and Fox and all of them are saying, oh, he potentially could win the freaking Heisman and potentially who knows what he could do. And which, I mean, if he gets in the Heisman, he's a Heisman candidate. Who knows what the media bias will be. So, but do you think Arch Manning will live up to the hype that's been given by the media?
No. Just straight up no.
Just
And
straight
I'll
up,
and
no.
I'll
I believe,
so
yeah.
2 reasons. One, I don't even know if he's a top 5 quarterback in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
that's,
straight up, like, not even just performance wise, he doesn't look in games against ranked opponents last year. Like you mentioned, Michigan, they had half their defensive starters out.
yeah.
Arkansas, we know what Arkansas was.
Yeah.
But Arch Manning against ranked opponents last year threw for more than 200 yards in a game once.
And I'm guessing that, I don't think that was the
It
Ohio
was
State one.
Texas A&M, and he
Yeah,
threw for
okay.
217 yards.
See, that was one of
Even
those
in his
things,
games, even in his
yeah.
his quote unquote good games against, like, take Oklahoma, right? People will say, "Oh, Arch started to figure it out against Oklahoma. He was 21 for 27. He ran for 56 yards, right? He threw for 172 yards in that game. His yards per completion in air yards per completion was 3.1. Sark didn't trust him to throw the ball down the field. That didn't change when the season got on, it just became less apparent. His flaws became less apparent because they were playing worse defenses. Even against a team like Kentucky, they should have lost that game.
Oh, yeah, that
He
was.
looked horrible in that game. He looked terrible against Mississippi State until the last 10 minutes of the game when Mississippi State ran out of gas. He looked terrible against Florida. He looked terrible. God, dude, he looked terrible against UTEP.
Yeah, that one was a little something.
It,
That's where I'm showing. That's where I'm saying like his flaws are there, and that's why I'm thinking the media's hyping him too much because he's a Manning. I think he's not a Heisman. I don't, he's not a Heisman candidate in my opinion, and I don't know. And he might be. I think he is about a borderline maybe top 10, but with what you said, he potentially may not be, and that's why I'm saying the development had to be there this offseason with Sarkisian, and maybe
mhm.
he can prove it this year, but. To think the one
He's not
game.
as consistent as Gunnar Stockton. I don't think he has the top end talent of a guy like Trinidad Chambliss or
No,
John
definitely not
Mateer.
them.
I don't think he has the accuracy or touch of a guy like he definitely doesn't have the scrambling ability or like big playability of somebody like Marcel Reed or Sellers, right?
Mm-mm.
I don't think he has the accuracy or touch of a guy. Let me think for a second. Or even of a guy like Kamario Taylor, right? Because Kamario Taylor showed a lot of those abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Manning going to be a top five quarterback in the SEC? I'm not so sure he will be.
Mm-mm. That's going to be the question. I don't. I mean, like you said, Chambliss, Stockton, Mateer. I mean, those guys. Reed. I mean, he's potentially. I mean, he's also potentially on the Heisman list. So I mean, he's
And
just
we didn't
real.
even mention Sam Levitt,
Yeah, I mean he's
right?
well. That's the thing as well. Well, I mean he's going now to LSU, and he's gonna. He was good at Arizona State. Now he's playing in the big dogs of the SEC. But I mean, we've seen his talent. We saw him with playing with Arizona State. There's some quarterbacks to beat out, and I think ours too. I think he's got some inconsistency issues, and I think that's where it hurts him. And like you mentioned, he had way too many errors against some teams he should have definitely not. I think that A&M game got him a lot of the hype though. I will say, the one against A&M, and then I think eventually that game against Michigan, which I mean I don't think you should ever get hype in a bowl game unless you just knock it out with 7 TDs or something. Even then, but like you said, I think he's though I do think he's not going to be top five in the SEC, and maybe he will if he can just if his development shows this season, and Texas potentially. I think overall the team Texas has a good chance at doing well, but Arch himself, I don't know if he's going to be the one to carry them. So I think that's where that struggle comes in for him. But now we just mentioned Sam there. Can Kiffin bring LSU to the playoffs? I keep LSU's had this hype year after year since the for the while since the college football playoff started about them being in the playoffs, and I'm like, I mean, possibly because last year, I mean, last year you had possible possible contenders there. The year before, you had the big transfer portal, possible contenders there, and then you're like, okay, well they underperformed badly, and then you fire Brian Kelly, and then now you're bringing Lane Kiffin, who got his team to the playoffs last year, and then bolted, as we know the drama there. But do you think Kiffin brings? Do you think Kiffin bring LSU to the playoffs? Now, do you think they will? But do you have a lot of confidence in Lane Kiffin bringing LSU to the playoffs? Personally, me, I do have confidence more than I do with Brian Kelly, but I don't know if it'll be enough. But do you think Travis, that Kiffin can bring LSU there?
Can he? Yes. Can he also lead them to a 6-6 record and have everything go wrong this year? Yes. The high end is right. You get Levitt back to 2024. Your running backs with Durham and Barry actually pose a threat instead of just being like 4 yards a carry, right? At
Mm-hmm.
best.
Yeah.
Um, Seaton and Devin Harper lead a change on the O line, and the O line is competent, right? Not even great, just competent because that O line last year horrible. Um, and then you get above average for SEC standards play out of Whit Weeks and TJ Dotery in the linebacking core,
Hmm.
right? Then you're talking like a 10-2, 11-1 ceiling for LSU. The lower end of that is Levitt looks bad and gets hurt, and then your trenches don't improve, your run game doesn't improve, and you're essentially what you were last year,
I,
which could could pose a lot of different angles as to where teams actually are going to go, right?
mhm.
I just don't know if I can put full confidence into LSU. I would lean towards them being good than them not being good, but I can't put full confidence into that just because of how big of a question mark it's going to be on the front seven on the defense and then on the O line.
Yeah, we mentioned, last year that defense was like, was pretty good, and then the offense was like, uh, that was,
Yeah.
that was something like, okay, we got to figure that out, and that's what led to the problem of them not being as good because they had all that hype there, and on both sides, and that's like you're saying that could happen this year again.
Hmm.
It could be like Levitt gets hurt, and then, or who knows, the defense gets hurt, or the defense flat out just underperforms, and Lane Kiffin, they're calling his name, they want him out. And something last year, something seemed just. Whenever Lane Kiffin got hired, I'm like, it just didn't seem. It just seemed like they just pulled him away. He was forced. He was like at gunpoint to come to LSU, and you need to leave now. Leave Ole Miss because it seemed
Hmm.
like the second he got hired, LSU started throwing all this stuff, but there was no. It was stale. There was no happiness. There was no. There was a lot of commotion. There was LSU fans. I didn't hear all of them like go crazy about it. There was just something tells me that this first season's not going to look as good as what they want for it to look
Yeah.
like, and that's I think there's too many. There's just I don't think there's going to be enough balance between you have a good defense, you got returners, you got Weeks there, one of the best defensive players on their team, and then you got a good running back duo. But will they be good? Is the question with LSU, and that's. But with Kiffin, we'll just see. He had his years with Ole Miss, but he also had his years falling short. We'll see if LSU lately since the Joe Burrow era with Ed, and they're bringing Ed back now
Hmm.
to help coach, but he to help Kiffin there. But since then, they have not. They've been a little more on the inconsistent issue. They've been all the hype in the offseason and they've fallen. But with Kiffin, we'll just have to see what goes on. But that is the SEC with those four questions. Now we're moving on to the ACC, where last year you had a very confusing postseason with Virginia and Duke in the ACC title game, and Miami in the playoffs, making it to the national championship. And Virginia or Duke, neither of them got into the playoffs, which made sense because Virginia wasn't in the playoff picture at the time. Duke was nowhere near the playoff picture. They got in because the ACC was weak, and
Tiebreakers, man.
yeah,
Tiebreakers.
I tell you those tiebreakers, and Miami was just good enough to get in. I thought they were going to be fraudulent again and lose first round to A&M, but it looks like A&M also showed some fraudulence as well.
Hmm.
But Miami definitely didn't show that. They made the national championship, lost to Indiana in a tough battle, very heartbreaking at the very end. But now for the Hurricanes, or not for the Hurricanes, for the ACC, I think you have now SMU possibly back to their old self. Clemson maybe back to their old self. I don't, maybe not full like big prime Dabo Sweeney era with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence self, but I'm just saying, I think they're going to have some more talented teams and maybe more of a refresh this year. That's kind of how it went in basketball for ACC last year, too, after their tough year in 24 and then 25, they were to get more teams. Football's kind of the same way, I think, this year. The first question is, can Bill Belichick bounce back? I do think that North Carolina will be a team, to eventually see, and not in the playoffs or anything, in the bowl game this year. I think this year will be better. For some reason, he had to get his feet in the water for college after coaching all those years in the NFL. I guess that's the case. I think also there was more of a chemistry issue. That might be the problem this year. They're bringing in Petrino. from Arkansas to help Belichick, and then you got the talent from the transfer portal, and you'll now see what goes on with North Carolina. You'll see what the Tar Heels can do, and now I remember, in fact, when I made this college football play, or it was either that, I think it was the NFL one last year. It was North Carolina and TCU were playing, and North Carolina, they scored first right off the bat. And I'm like, wow, this team, they might be doing something, and then they got whooped. So, like, do you see Travis, North Carolina being better and possibly making a bowl game this year?
No,
No?
no. The Belichick doesn't understand that you can't apply an NFL standard to recruiting in the portal,
Mm-hmm.
right? He waited way too long to go away from Gio Lopez last year, who was, good lord, he was awful. And then bringing in Petrino, you better hope that Petrino was what got the most out of that Arkansas offense last year and not just the talent level itself, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not. I feel like if you're making a bet that a coach is what elevated a team to help fix an offense that you didn't really add a ton of talent to in the first place, I feel like if you're doing that, that's almost never a good sign because
Mm-hmm.
you didn't really like you didn't add anybody notable to that to that to that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Your quarterback is what going to be, I think, Teron Dickens or something.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure that out, aren't they?
Like we don't have you don't have a good quarterback in place. You don't have any good defensive infrastructure in place despite multiple chances to have it. And you're bringing in a guy who you don't who one went 0-7 as a head coach last year, and two, you don't even know if he was what made that offense good.
Yeah, that's true because you know, you had Taylor Green at quarterback. You had a good running back room in a way. You had receivers that could get. I mean, you had um, some pretty good. You had some talent that was worthy, especially for an SEC, putting up points. And then and now you're bringing in, like you said, you're bringing in Petrino to this offense with not really much help and expecting him to fix everything. And we also thought that as Hogs, I also thought that as a Hogs fan last year, hey, Petrino is going to fix this whole team. Look at the defensive side. He wasn't going to do anything. That couldn't really be helped, and he had to fire everyone. Now you're coming here with North Carolina, maybe they're in the same situation. You're expecting him to do something with not really as much of a good offense. And now Belichick's the same way as a head coach. Do you have really that good of enough talent? You have so many question marks, and we discussed this earlier with Tennessee, but this is in a worse scenario. I think honestly, I think it was just like you said, he waited way too long to fire Gio, and now I think it's just kind of going downhill more. But honestly, I think they will be better, but maybe they could
Based
sneak in.
on what? Based on what? A trust that Belichick can actually do something in college?
Even if it's a tiny bit, I don't think it'll be. It was just bad last year.
They were
Maybe even if it's
five
a
and
tiny bit.
seven last year. Find 6 to 8 wins on that schedule. I don't see any way.
That is true. I don't know though. I don't know. Even if it could be the same way, but I don't know. I could. I'm just trying to see. I mean, I just think they possibly, maybe just in a tiny way. I'm not even a big way, or maybe just the same way. They stay the same, or they could go downhill even worse.
All right.
That's enough. That's enough. But we'll just see what happens. But obviously Belichick, I think we can both agree that he is not the same as he was. He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't understand how to roll this in college. I think he kind of came during the wrong era. He should have came, I think, a little earlier, but he was still over there trying to win Super Bowls in New England. But anywho, now you got Miami, the Hurricanes, another contender possibly. Well, I mean, Darian Mensah, strong potential there that could really help Miami out. Analysts have been saying he's possibly one of maybe the best quarterbacks right now in college football, but we'll have to see against those other really good quarterbacks. Malachi Tony, potential to be an award winner for the Hurricanes. He showed off big time in the postseason last year, and the defense is going to be one of a really good, talented defense. Of course, they did have some players. Ruben Bain left. But they're going to find, I think, ways to still have a good enough to still have a pretty talented group of guys that can have them possibly win a natty. And they've got great depth. They went through the portal. They got some good stuff, and they possibly this year, if they stay undefeated throughout the regular season, maybe they can keep that going and not have that little fall off they do. And maybe this year they can actually expect to make the playoffs. Or will they be like Ohio State from 2 years ago, where they weren't expected to make the playoffs, and then a bad loss, or they weren't expected to make the playoffs. They were expected to make a run to the national championship after a bad loss. Miami was kind of the same way. They weren't expected to, but they did. And then the next year, just like Ohio State, fell early the next year when they were actually projected to maybe make the national championship. Miami could be the possible same. But do you think Miami? You already kind of told me, through your takes video or your takes you had, and when I made that video. But explain why you think Miami is another contender for this year.
I think you're massively underselling just how talented this team is. I
Yeah.
think it's way more than just a Darian Mensah addition or bringing back Malachi Tony or revamping the defense through the portal.
Oh
Right?
no, they're talented. Yeah.
I think every single aspect of this Miami team is like a top 4 to 8 position group, maybe in college football. A lot of people will point to they lost a lot of people on the O line. Guys, Cristobal has had a top 10 to 20 O line in college football for 90% of his coaching career. If there is one coach that I trust blindly to just put out a good O line, it is Cristobal.
Yeah.
And there, I think people are starting to hear about Mensah, but they don't know how good he is, right? Darian Mensah was legit the only reason Duke was even in games last year. Like, Duke doesn't even sniff 8 wins without Mensah. They're like a 3 to 4 win team. You bring back Mark Fletcher, who is a elite 3 down running back. I think Cooper Barkate honestly is a top 10 wide receiver playing probably. I mean, he might not even crack 1,000 yards with how loaded this Miami team is. You have Elijah Lofton at tight end, right? There's so much talent on this team, and they are, in my opinion, the team to beat, not just in the ACC, but in college football.
I think so. I do definitely agree. They have all that loads of talent, and I remember Cristobal was the O line coach at Bama, and so he's definitely uh, gotten some great from the start there. Came the head coach of Miami, and he's been rolling, and made the team even better. But this team is definitely heavily talented, and I could definitely see them possibly win. Good chance, definitely to win the ACC, and a good natty contender. Um, you know, we'll just see what goes on. Maybe because we've had those years where the Miami has looked like they were going to go make an undefeated run and they've fallen off. But I think this year you can probably. I feel like you could just trust them more because I think before. Remember with Cam Ward, you had a terrible defense. Somehow they were undefeated, and that's why they missed the playoffs. Last year, I think you had some more issues with Carson Beck's inconsistency, and then they decided to show up and use that talent in the postseason. And then now, I think you can actually maybe trust the whole team to finally come together and maybe actually win the Natty this year. But this is a good squad. Definitely winning the national championship is definitely a very big possibility for them in 2026 or for the 20 and will be in 2027. All right, moving on to the third question. How good will Clemson be? Well, I don't think they'll be the same Clemson, like I mentioned, or big time Clemson. But maybe possibly they could sneak in the playoffs. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to go up against ACC squads. And you got, we'll mention Georgia Tech in just a bit. They've got some good squads in the ACC, and then you're going to have to win those games. You're bringing in Chad Morris, offensive coordinator, and he was he was a good reason of those high-flying offenses from 2011 to 2014. You're also the defensive production. You got some stuff there. You can also trust Dabo to do well, but I don't know if it's the same Dabo as we saw as his years are maybe coming to a close soon. Um, I don't think they will sneak into the college football playoff. They've definitely they've got some talent on there to be good in the ACC, to maybe make the ACC title game. And remember, we saw a couple years ago they looked like they were around the same as they were around that bubble, and not and they remember they lost to South Carolina. It looked like, okay, well, they're done for. Then they got in the ACC title game and they beat SMU, and then they made to the college football playoff. So maybe that could happen this year. They've gotten some production. They've gotten some overall. They've gotten some better talent. Last year was looked like they had all that hype, and then they just flat out started losing. Do you see that again happening this year, or do you see that? Do you see maybe it happening? Do you see like maybe more of a 2024 year happening for Clemson this year?
Trey, I want you to look me in my eyes here for a second.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got you.
I want us to make eye contact. Like, I picked Clemson to win the national title and Cade Klubnik to win the Heisman preseason last year. I will
Yeah,
never, ever in my life trust Clemson again.
yeah, they're not that same
There's
dominant
no, no, no,
Clemson.
no, 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 no. I don't think you understand what I'm saying here.
Yeah,
I will
okay.
never pick them to make the ACC championship for the next decade. I will never trust a Dabo Sweeney led team again as long as I live. Christopher Vizina, sorry, you are not good. I don't think he's good. Jay Haynes, I don't think is a number one running back. Bryant Wesco, outside of you, their receiver room's garbage. Am I freezing up? Hang on.
Oh, you did freeze a bit. Hold
This
on.
shit's
Okay.
like freezing. I don't know
Is
why.
it? Oh, you're fine. Okay, you're fine now. Okay, I
Okay.
do get. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean,
I don't. No, 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 no. I'm not finished.
no
I'm not
buts.
finished. They're they better than Louisville in this conference? No, and I say that with 1,000% certainty. Are they even better than SMU or a team like Miami? Obviously, no. Are they better than SMU? No. Are they even better than a team like Florida State or Georgia Tech? I don't know if they are.
Mm-mm.
Like, Clemson is. People say, oh, they're not the Clemson of old, but they can still make some more noise. No, the Clemson way is gone. It was gone 3 years ago. It's definitely gone now.
Yeah, I mean, I no, I definitely don't think that. I don't like I said, I don't think they'll make it. I don't think, and there's like I said, there's competitive, more better competitiveness now in the ACC. Like you mentioned, Louisville, Florida State's getting better. Georgia Tech's good, and then you have SMU and Miami leading up in that. So I don't think they'll make it. They're gonna find some ways to lose those games, and I think they'll just flat out be in a. Do you think? Do you at least do you see them? Do you see them being better though than last year? At least maybe winning 6 or 7 games.
Hang on, your thing's freezing up again. One sec.
Okay.
The string keeps like freezing at certain points. Um. Okay. Well, it's not frozen. I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Uh. I mean, they'll win 7 games just because the bottom end of the conference is so dog shit, right? Like the bottom end of the conference is terrible. So they'll probably win 7 games. That doesn't mean they're gonna be good. They weren't good last year and they still won 7 games. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna sit here and say, oh, they're definitely gonna be like 8, 9 wins just because it's Clemson. Those days have been over for 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm done predicting that.
No, I mean, yeah. How mad were you last year when they started dropping all those games? After
I was just numb, man. I was just numb.
numb to it. I get it.
Yeah,
I had hype on Clemson last year too. I did. I had my prediction. I had them winning. I think the ACC title game. I had them doing really well. Kate Klubnik, I had a lot of hope for, and then they
yeah. Hang
flat
on.
out.
Y'all are gonna see a weird view here because I'm gonna prop up my
Okay,
computer on
but
something. 'Cause
yeah,
I feel
they
like that
had
might be the reason why this is slow.
no. I don't even know honestly, because I mean I think mine's doing fine, but
My laptop's starting to like overheat a little bit. So
oh, is it okay? Well, let me get okay. Last one we got ACC. We got is Georgia Tech a playoff team? Yeah,
No.
I think they can be. I mean, well, you got
Again,
Alberto
based
Mendoza.
on what? Again, based on what?
Well, okay, it really depends on. Do you? I mean, I'm. Hold on. They don't have the same quarterback from last year, but you got another Mendoza. I'm not saying he'll be Fernando, but also it's coaching. I trust their coaching in Georgia Tech. I do. I really do. I like their coaching. Um, you got
Jeff
Justice
Brom's a
Haynes. You
better
got
head
Justice
coach than
Haynes.
Brent Key,
You
dude.
got you got a good running back in the back.
I
You
like
got
Justice
Haynes.
Haynes,
Haynes
but
is
Isaac
good.
Brown's a better running back than Justice Haynes.
Okay, well,
Louisville. If you're gonna
I mean,
predict a
yeah,
second team besides Miami to make the playoffs, pick Louisville or SMU, dude. Georgia, Georgia Tech, Alberto Mendoza has seen action in like 6 games total, and they've all been nothing. Right? You have Justice Haynes, who got replaced by Jordan Marshall down the stretch for Michigan. Um, they're not more talented than Louisville. They're not more talented than SMU. I'm not saying Georgia Tech's going to be bad. I'm just saying they are not a playoff team. And there's no shame in that. There's no
no,
shame in being 8 wins and a decent team in your conference, but they're not a playoff team. Not every. The, you got to understand, this is 12 teams we're dealing with, right?
hmm
And 3 to 4 teams from the SEC and Big Ten are going to make it. Not everybody can make the playoff.
no. I mean, that's not. Well, also we made this question because based off last year they had a lot of hype. Then they fell off later in the year. Now they've got they lost some players, but they do have more development and some better from the portal. But like you said, there are better ACC teams. I no. I mean, I think they possibly could, but you are right. SMU, Louisville. I mean, they're better. They're better quality teams to do so than probably Georgia Tech. But potentially, I think it's really more of being able. I'm not saying I'm predicting them to, but it's more of just a being able to. Um, but they do have their flaws that could keep them out of the playoffs. It's probably the same way. Obviously, I think Miami, SMU are those two top teams, and SMU could be in the same situation as we saw a couple years ago, just somehow just sneaking in, but possibly maybe even going higher than we thought they than that year. But I mean, who knows what will happen with Georgia Tech until we see them play, obviously. But I think they've got talent, but like you said, it may not be. It's probably not. It could may not be enough, and but I think they do have. I trust their coaching. I trust their ways. I trust the development. I think they've got some talent. I think they can develop Mendoza. I'm not saying he's gonna be Fernando. I'm not gonna say he's their head Kirk Signetti coach. But it's just more of it being able to. I think there, but you also have a good point of them not making it, and I think there's some more SEC teams or ACC squads that have a better chance. And honestly, who knows what can happen the next few years? With with Lane Kiffin and all them saying, why don't we expand the college football playoff and all that to like 18 to 24 teams? Would you even agree with that? I'm just asking. Would you agree if they did
No.
expand it? Yeah,
No,
they
this
don't
isn't
need.
basketball, dude. This
No, they
isn't
don't need to expand
basketball.
it.
I'm not saying keep it at 12. I'm saying the people who are saying expand it to 24 don't deserve to be talking about college football because
24 is
you don't
not.
have the interest of the game at heart. You don't.
You gotta have, yeah. It's not bad. It's as well as those mid majors coming in. Like this isn't bad. Like you said, this is not the other sports where they're gonna come and upset. James Madison last year, Tulane, who though those teams do not. I don't think really need to be in there. I understand you gave them the win, but like this, I love mid majors being in tournaments, but this football, it's a completely different sport. I don't think that
Hmm.
should happen. I don't think they should be in it. Um, but that is it for the ACC. Now move on to the one that's been competing with the SEC for many years, or for at least the past few years, I should say. Um, the Big Ten. And the past 2 years, they've won a national championship. Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana. And Ohio State, or no, I mean not Ohio State, Indiana, they're turning into more of a football school now. And they've been one of the sexiest football schools in college history many, many years. And now the Big Ten possibly is trying to go after a fourth ring. And you had a chance with not being Ohio State a couple years ago when you had Oregon, but they flat out crapped the bed in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State. But Ohio State was doing that to quite a bit of people after that Michigan loss. And now you got teams such as USC and Michigan possibly making a run at the Big Ten title game. And then you have Oregon still. And then you have Ohio State. You have Indiana still. Who knows with Penn State? We'll talk about that in just a minute. But we first want to talk about who is in Indiana without Mendoza. Well, you first have Curt Cignetti still at the helm for the Hoosiers. Still a good playoff team. They've got the quarterback from, I think, they got the TCU quarterback, I think, coming in for the Hoosiers now. That's going to be a question. What will he do under Curt Cignetti? I still think they're a playoff team, and I still think they're going to be a good squad. But I'm not seeing them win the national championship because you have to have an impact. You don't have Omar Cooper Jr. anymore. You don't have Mendoza, obviously, but you do still have a good squad. Who do you think Indiana is without Mendoza?
I mean, I just think they're top 3 in the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna be on the same level as like an Oregon or Ohio State. Are they gonna win the title again? I'm not gonna predict it, right?
Mm-mm.
But it could happen. They have the talent level too. I think Hoover coming in this year is actually better than Mendoza was going into last year, right? I think he has more up. I think he has way more upside. I think they're gonna throw the ball a lot more. Um, I mean, I'm just gonna trust Signetti to put out a playoff roster, man. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say, oh, he's not going to put out a playoff roster. The ceiling of that team is a Big Ten title. I think at worst they're like maybe 10-2 and like the ninth team in the playoff.
Well, we saw a couple years ago. It didn't look like they were going to have all that talent. Curt Cignetti comes out of nowhere and brings the team to the college football playoff. I mean, sure,
Hmm.
you had trouble against the great teams and all that, but Indiana was sucking all those years, and you somehow do that. The next year you win the national championship, change the quarterbacks, bring in the defense being much better. This year could be the same way, and who knows? I mean, it
Yep.
could be like Dan Hurley. I mean, you don't look as good, but yet you're still really good, and you win the national championship because you've got those key players that can help you win a national championship. I mean, Indiana could be the same way as UConn for basketball. So we'll just have to see. And I think, but like you said, talent levels there, but I don't think they're going to be the same Indiana team last year because they were dominant last year, and they proved
Yeah.
it. I don't think they're the
Yeah.
same dominant team, but I could see them maybe around 2 years ago, maybe better because I think they're qualified maybe to beat some of those better teams, especially with the Big Ten being better now than I think they were, with more stacked teams and USC and Michigan kind of coming in. I don't really know. Uh, this isn't really a question that I put on there, but what's your opinion on the USC? They were ranked a good amount of the year last year, but they were kind of quiet in the Big Ten. Do you see that kind of happening with them this year again?
I just think that team is like very. They're getting a lot of like sleeper Big Ten championship hype,
Yeah.
right? Based on what? Like the Mayava's fine, right? He's a decent enough quarterback.
Hmm.
The receiver room is not that good. They don't really have like a star on defense, right, that you can point to. I mean, they'll be okay. I think Lincoln Riley's fired at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think
Soon.
based on what they expect him to do this year, based on like recruiting stuff, that I just don't think that I I don't have high expectations for that team.
Yeah, he's not. He's not what he was at Oklahoma, and I still think they had. I still think he had good years at Oklahoma, but I still think there were some flaws that. Hey, I mean, they had trouble winning playoff games there. I mean, and I still think he underperformed with some stuff that he had. I think that's where it's going to kind of coming in with USC because their USC is
Hmm.
not like what they used to be. In Lincoln Riley um, when they had just a few years ago when they had a top team, they're not the same anymore. But
No.
it's I agreed with you on my take on well at least your takes on my video for your takes. I agreed with you for what he's going to probably get fired sooner or later, possibly this year. But
Hmm.
they've USC's really just been a team just to be there, be in the rankings, win games, and then make a bowl game, and that's it. But that's about it for them. I don't think they're going to make a Big Ten championship or anything. I don't think they're going to be able to compete with those other schools of Oregon and Indiana and Ohio State. Maybe
Hmm.
even maybe not Michigan. I don't even know.
No.
But I don't even think they're probably going to be more like what. I mean, I don't know. Just probably just sitting there ranked, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna say with. And then they'll probably do something like Lincoln Riley in about a year, the end of this year, maybe next year. Because if they're hyped up now for USC, then I don't think they're going to be any more hyped unless they think they're making the national championship next year. But other than that, if they think that, then probably Lincoln Riley probably got them all hyped up. Anywho,
Yeah.
next up is Ohio State's defense dominant again. Well,
Yes.
yeah,
No, no. Short answer here,
no,
yes.
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with you. Matt Patricia, he's just, yeah. I mean, and Ohio State's defense,
They're just gonna out talent people.
they
Like
are.
that defense is there. I want to keep this one very short and sweet. Yes, their defense is going to dominate people. They are going to be really good again. I see no reason for a fall off here.
No, they
I just
should.
don't.
No, they have the talent pieces there. So what if they lost Downs? I appreciate that as a Cowboys fan, him coming to us. But so what if they lost him? They've got the talent, they got the resources. I
Hmm.
like you said, I don't see them losing anything. Penn State, will they bounce back with Campbell at the
No,
helm? You don't think they'll
no,
do any better?
no. That Matt Campbell, I don't even think is a bad coach, and it's not even
No.
really his fault, right? This Penn State team is not good talent wise, right? If you're bringing over a lot of the Iowa State talent,
Mm-hmm.
not that they're bad, but
Remember
they're
last year
not
they
going to
weren't
be.
as good either.
I will say the schedule is very manageable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are they going to beat Washington? Are they going to beat Michigan? I don't think they are, right? And if you can't win those kinds of big games, then you're not going to be like this great team. You're not going to be super improved. You're not going, especially from their talent level last year, right? I just don't see it.
Yeah,
Maybe they do, but
I mean, you couldn't do that with James Franklin. Yes, we knew his thing with winning big games, but I mean, you couldn't do it with that. You couldn't do it with all the talent. Drew Aller at quarterback. Uh,
mm-mm.
you couldn't do it with that dominant defense they've been having for years and years. I don't see it. I don't see them making being the Big Penn State again, and possibly just sneaking into a bowl game is I think is what they possibly have a big chance of doing. But right now, the first year under Campbell, bringing in some Iowa State talent, which they weren't even that good last year. They had a lot of hype, I remember, and Kansas State
Yeah.
last year at the beginning of the year, and they flat out just they couldn't do anything either. And now you're bringing them to Penn State, expecting them to go out and beat teams like Oregon and Ohio State and Indiana and even Washington and Michigan. You're expecting them to do that. And even you, I mean, USC will be like we just mentioned. They'll be at least in the mix of the just being solid in the Big Ten. I don't even know what will be the case with them, but they're not going to be any of those other top teams. I don't think.
No.
But at least it's going to really. I just think they'll help. He'll help a little, but don't expect Penn State to return back probably anytime soon to what they used to be, and
No.
don't expect them to be winning all those tough games when they couldn't with James Franklin. And he and
Mm-mm.
he and even if he couldn't win the big games, he still had a lot of those winning seasons. So if you couldn't do it then, I don't expect anytime soon with Campbell. And he had his good years with Iowa State, and he with Brock Purdy at quarterback, and you know with a lot with that talent. Uh, I mean, they had good years Cyclones, and I remember just a couple years ago there in the Big 12 title game. But then that was in the more of the mixed thing, and the Big 12 was weaker than what you see the Big 10 being.
Yeah.
But Penn State, no, I don't think that they'll be the big shot, but I can see them at least getting to just being a little more confident in themselves, and maybe they can start rising. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon that they get back to their old self during of dominance, I should say, or at least of being a good team and in the mix for the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is last one for the Big Ten. Will Bryce Underwood show his potential? Okay, do you want to? I'm gonna let you talk first because you've wanted to say some stuff. I'm gonna let you talk first.
It really depends on what you think his potential is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think his potential is like a good quarterback who isn't going to elevate a team but isn't going to make them worse, right? Then yeah, obviously you can. If you think his ceiling is like a top 5 to 7 quarterback in the country, no. Right? It's like what do you think his potential and his ceiling is, right? And it's like he can hit some ceilings and he can't hit others. And I think it's a very simple explanation, especially with Whittingham's teams consistently being like run first and very like RPO oriented, does that play into Underwood's strengths? I don't think it does, right? So what is the ceiling is would be my question, because it's like, will he show his potential? Well, it just totally depends on what his potential is and what potential you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think more of his potential um, is going to be more like I think the first thing you said. He's just going to be that good quarterback. I think that is going to be just to manage the game. He ain't going to make it worse, but I think he's going to help the team. I think more of also his potential is what the media was saying when he got to Michigan. Oh, he's going to be that big time quarterback. He's gonna, he's the freshman. He's going to be He's going to be a good quarterback, and then he didn't, and then the Michigan didn't do as well as as some people thought. I think he's just going to show his potential just being a good quarterback, helping Michigan, get a good amount of wins, be ranked at times, and just be there. And I think that's just what Bryce Underwood's going to show, kind of like you were saying there. But I don't think it's going to be anything special. I don't think it's not with him at least. Okay, we got one more. It's the Big 12. This was the conference that only a couple years ago was in the mix for the
Hang on one second.
okay.
Y'all who are watching this are seeing an actual real part of this. I'm not filming. I'm filming this while sitting on my bed, and so I've been sitting down in the same place for an hour.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like in pain on my lower half.
Do we need to get up? Do we need to take a break for like
No,
a
no,
minute?
I
Okay.
was just adjusting. I was just adjusting real
No,
quick.
but I get it because if it's in pain, I wouldn't want that either.
No, you're
Uh,
good.
okay. Well, Oklahoma. No, sorry, hold on. Big 12 wise, just only a couple years ago, you had, like it was basically up for grabs, and Arizona State showed their ways, but they were a 4 seed that year, and they looked worse than multiple of those squads. And then they almost beat Texas, and I thought they were going to at one point, but they end up heartbreakingly lose on a was it 4th and 20 conversion in overtime or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. They with Arizona State, Iowa State, all of them, and then last year we saw them. We saw Texas Tech showing some pretty big dominance. Utah kind of climbing back up. We had Arizona getting better. Arizona State was a little worse. BYU was in the mix, and they got whooped by Texas Tech twice, and you can probably thank the defense for that. We'll talk about Texas Tech in just a minute. But starting off with Oklahoma State, the Cowboys right here. Me and Travis both going, and we talked about their offense. You already explained on your reel. If you didn't, go follow. I talked about Travis's page on Instagram. Travis Talks College Football. He talked about Oklahoma State, and I agree with you in the hype. The hype with the college football playoff, it needs to stop until I see it actually happen. Because too many teams in the Big 12 where I think they're going to be disrupted. But how much of an impact will their offense be on the team in their conference? The offense, what they cause problems for the defenses, just depending on how good that defense is. You've got Drew Mestamaker, you got Caleb Hawkins, you got multiple receivers coming out of North Texas, multiple tight ends that can make big plays. And with Eric Morris, the head coach, offensive-minded guy, that offense is going to be one heck of a system that can make some noise and can be huge for the team. Can get them a good amount of wins. Not saying college football playoff worthy, but can get you into about 6 to 8 wins this season, and can make Oklahoma State much better. Obviously, it'll depend on the defense. And then the conference wise, like I said, it really just depend on what defenses you're playing. If you're playing something like Texas Tech and possibly BYU, then that might be a problem. But I don't know how good that offense is. It has ways of getting through there, but it'll definitely, I think, be one of the best offenses in the conference. What do you expect? What are you seeing offensive wise? What are you seeing? How much of an impact will it be on them, on the Cowboys team and Big 12?
Two things with what you said. One, they don't have depth, dude. Like, if they get one or two injuries on offense, that entire thing, every player that you said, goes down the drain.
Well, yeah,
And
because you lose Messmaker or Hawkins, that offense
if you
could
even
plummet.
lose either of the tackles that you got out of the portal, right? Like,
Yeah,
this team is basically 2 injuries away from being back to what they were last year. This team, we have no clue what they're going to be, right? And two, the second thing you said, North Texas. Yes, this offense was elite at North Texas last year. It Mestamaker was putting up ridiculous numbers, right? Is it going to be the same as it was at North Texas? I don't know.
That's a question, yeah, because you are, like I said, it depends on the defense you're playing. You aren't playing the American Conference
Yeah,
teams.
they'll be better. It's hard to be worse or have no improvement from 1-11, right?
No,
It's hard to not improve from that.
but I think they get a few. But I think with the offensive help, as long as they stay healthy, I no, I see them as bowl game material. And then who knows what will
Hmm.
happen from years on that.
Yeah,
I
and
don't.
people thought from that reel that I hated Oklahoma State and that I was saying that they wouldn't be good, right? I'm not saying that they're not going to be good. I'm just saying I would like to see them play a couple of games before we throw them in. Oh, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to win the Big 12, right?
Yeah,
I think you have to actually watch them play the games. And then also, are they going to stay healthy? Is Mestamaker really as good as we think? Does Eric Morris's system actually work in Power 4 football?
that's yeah. I mean, well, that Oregon game is going to be the test. But I won't say I'm not expecting them to win that game. I would love it, but Oregon's just really good, possibly. And but to be at home, but to be at home, a lot of hype with all that stuff. Possibly, assuming you're coming off a win against Tulsa. Not saying that's anything to brag about, but it's a rivalry game, and at least it's a win. At least it's a win. It would at least, it's going to be loud there when we watch that game and all that. But
Hmm.
it's going to be a test. If you want to prove that you're potentially going to be a playoff team, you need to hang in there with Oregon. I'm not saying you need to. If you lose them by single digits, I'll be like, okay, you lost them by 60 points last year. If you can lose them by maybe a touchdown or two, hey, at least maybe be on the ropes with them during the game at any point. Hey, I'll be like, okay. I mean, that's good. That's fine with me. I mean,
Agreed.
just,
I want
just.
Oklahoma State to be good. I just got to see it.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I don't know why people have been like, hey, this team's going to the playoffs. I'm not. I'm like, okay, I love that you're saying that, but I'm like, let's calm down. Let's just see if this offense and if this defense can back them up because we've had their defense is probably one of those manageable defenses, but that's going to be keeping them away from the playoffs. It's going to be like, hey, why'd you go 8-4 with that offense? Why'd you go 7-5 with that offense? Well, you can tell the defense right there. Or you could say, hey, the offense was good, but they weren't good enough to hang with going up against a big Texas Tech defense like how good they were last year, or go up against BYU's defense, or go up against Utah. You know what I mean? That are
Yeah.
they good enough to do that? That's gonna be the question. But like I said, you have to see what goes on with the Oklahoma State's offense and overall team if they're going to be even good enough to make the playoffs. I would love them to make playoffs year one, but but I would just want them to go to a bowl game and improve on there.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and
Hang on.
expecting hopefully
The freaking stream is like
is it
on your
still
thing is very very frozen right now.
oh is it?
Yeah. Hang
It looks
on.
like it's your it looks like it's your camera that's the one frozen. I mean nothing. I mean that I'm basing it off the stream right now.
Okay. Mine just reconnected. So
Okay, I got you. Well, at least, well, as long as it's
It's at an unstable network. I think it just reconnected itself. So we're
that's
good.
good. Okay.
At least for now, we're good.
Yeah, we got this question, and then we of course just the next parts will be shorter, but so the camera won't have to work as hard anymore. All right, is Texas Tech seriously problem a big obstacle for the Red Raiders' Big 12 title chances? Travis, I'll let you talk first.
No, it's really not, right? Um, I'm a Will Hammond guy. I like Will Hammond a lot. Also, Tech is going to out talent pretty much everybody they play, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is Joey McGuire a great coach? I don't think so, but I don't even know if it's gonna matter most games because this team is so talented at top to bottom, right? Um, so just short answer, no, not really.
No, I don't. I don't think. I mean, QB depth is there. We already mentioned how good the defense is. They've got weapons. And I just don't. I think Texas Tech will be back in the playoffs, and they'll be back to maybe not getting blown out by Oregon. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to, I guess it kind of was a blowout,
Yeah.
but it was. But still, they still are a talented team. I think that solves your problem. You know what? You're glad that it happened earlier because I know some college teams, and especially the professionals, for whatever reason, for some reason, if it happens later in the year, or later towards the beginning of the year, it starts being like, then they start, that falls into the season. It's like, well, pick up the next
Hmm.
guy and get going. Why are we worrying about that happened? That's gone. Texas
And the
Tech,
Scoresby thing could be a whole video in of itself.
yeah, I mean, it really could. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to have some documentary on it because of how it changed college football, or at least how people reacted to it. I mean, they were boycotting the place, or boycotting Texas Tech and all that, and so. But
Yeah.
anywho, I like you said, I don't see this being a big obstacle for. But I had to put that in there because I knew some people would be like, "Oh, they know Sorsby, so their quarterback situation is good. Hammond be fine." I think
Hmm.
he'll have, they might have some, he might have a little trying to get going at the beginning, but he'll be fine throughout the year, and I think they'll make the Big 12. I think they're gonna make the Big 12 title again. I'll let you know if I win it, if they win it or not. All right, next up for Arizona, which Arizona team do you trust the most to win the Big 12? Now that's just
Neither.
well, no,
Neither.
more than just more
If you're
either.
gun to my head, you're making me pick one. I'm taking Arizona. I like Noah Fafita a lot as a coach. I think
Yeah,
Brett Brennan is or as a quarterback. I think Brett Brennan is a very good coach. I like their defensive backs, but neither team is doing anything.
yeah, more like just basically, it's really just which Arizona team, if they were going to make a run and surprise people, which one would you more trust? Is what I maybe should have worded it more. Which one do you which Arizona team would you have more of a surprise to make the Big 12 make a run and be better?
Yeah.
I probably have the Wildcats more. I understand that Kenny is going to be, he leads a great group of Sun Devils, but I think this team after last year, obviously with Arizona, they looked good last year. They're kind of getting, they've had their on and off years of being
People
good.
forget Arizona won 9 games last year.
No, I know that's the thing. They looked last year. They looked good, and it's like they're carrying that over into this year. And now, I just think I just have more confidence. They have more confidence. I have more
Mhm.
trust in the QB, more development wise. I think they're more than Arizona State, but I don't see them. I don't think they'll make the Big 12 title game. I'm just saying which more, really more do you think that has a
Yeah,
surprise run in them? But this Big 12 is going to be better this year. And
they are.
this is going to be definitely better. You got Utah, you got Houston. You mean Houston? I mean they potentially. I'm not understanding the Kansas State top 4 odds. Are we on the same? Do we understand that at
Yeah, I
all?
don't. I don't get it.
I'm not really understanding that. It's like last year I thought they were. If this was last year, I'd be like, well, why don't you have them at 2? Because they look pretty good, and then they fell off. I mean, so I just don't think this. I don't think Kansas State's it. But they got a lot of the
It's
Big
just
12's
gonna
gonna be
take
much
more
better.
than a year for Colin Klein to actually get going.
Nah, yeah, and I think this. I think it sometimes like goes out with the Big 12. You kind of hype some teams up, and then they kind of just start falling off. You did that with Iowa State and Kansas State last year, and then you're doing that
Yeah.
now with Kansas State again. Now, and who knows? They could be doing that with Oklahoma State. I mean, I don't think they. I don't. I think it'll. I don't think they will meet what they're saying, but they'll be at least better, like we talked about. But they're doing that with some teams.
Yep.
Kind of what we did with USC. Where are you thinking? Where are you seeing Houston standards this year? They've just
I
kind of
think
been in
they're
the
third. I
mix.
think they're third in the Big 12. I
Yeah,
like Houston a lot.
yeah. I mean, they showed last year a lot of potential.
Yep. Whether it's Keyshawn or whether it's Wegman starting, I don't really care. I
Yeah,
like the players around them. You bring Mackay Hughes back into a Willie Fritz system. That team's gonna be good.
yeah. I think they definitely have got some good stuff there going
Now
on.
I'm looking at your last question right here, right? And
Yes, we talked about this. I think
I
with some
am
other
going to
conference.
yes. I'm gonna say yes, and I'm not gonna give any more explanation right now because I'm gonna give more explanation in my conference champion predictions.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
just
Well,
gonna say yes, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
I think the I think they'll with how better the Big 12 is this year. Yeah, I don't see why not there why there wouldn't be. But all right, let's go ahead. Without further ado, let's get into these conference champion predictions. Travis.
Hold
Okay.
on a second, guys.
Okay. Conference championship predictions. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let you go first since I'm the one with the display. I'm gonna let you talk yours first about your who you think is winning the SEC.
So I have Georgia over Oklahoma in the SEC
You did
championship
say
game.
that.
I think Georgia is going to be. I, I'm I'm going to trust Kirby Smart until he shows that he's not. Like it was like Dabo several years ago. I'm gonna trust the guy until the wheels fall off, right? Um, I think Kirby is the second, maybe the best coach in college football.
Mm-hmm.
I think regardless of whether Georgia has had less or more talent the last few years, it hasn't really mattered, especially in the regular season, right? Playoffs is a
Mm-hmm.
different story. And then for Oklahoma, I think a lot of people are like Oklahoma's over under win total right now is at 7.5.
Yeah,
That is
that's low.
criminally low, right?
Yes. What are we doing?
They play in their first 5 games. They play Michigan, Georgia, and Texas, right?
Those are tough.
If they go 2-1 in those games, right? Their next 4 games consist of Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and what was the last one? I think Vanderbilt is somewhere in there too.
They
But
should get at
it's
least
an
like
easy.
6 wins.
Oh, it's Florida. It's Florida. But that is an easy 4 game stretch before Ole Miss, A&M, and Missouri. 2 of those they get at home.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, Oklahoma has a real shot to go 11-1.
Yeah, honestly, they do. I mean,
I don't I
Materia,
don't
I think,
want
will
to
be better.
pick Bama. I don't want to pick Bama because of the uncertainties on offense. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to pick Texas because I don't trust them in the trenches and I don't trust Arch. And I also don't really want to pick Ole Miss, even though I really, really like Ole Miss. I think they have more liabilities to in places that can go wrong than Oklahoma.
I get you there. Yeah, I was thinking of picking Ole Miss, but I think they've got some flaws that'll keep them out of it. As well as they were kind of around the same way last year, and then they like skipped, like just barely missed. And I can't trust A&M. I don't, they were trying to put them in that mix, and I'm like, Alabama, no. But it's kind of between those two teams, and I like, when we do these predictions, we're gonna have our opinions,
Yeah.
but and we will not know at the end of the year what goes on, obviously. And last year there was some up that we had. I had Clemson and Kansas State, and you said you had Clemson too. They flat out said no, we're not getting anywhere near that. I had Ohio State, and I think I had I don't remember how the SEC. I might have had Georgia. I don't remember. This year's gonna be different, and we talked about Arch, but I'm going Texas.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Texas. I like Georgia. I do really like Georgia winning it, but I think I see some stuff different in what Sarkisian's leading this year. Like I said, Arch is not going to be a top quarterback, but I think he's going to do enough to help. And with development from this year, I think he's going to do enough to help this team win the SEC title. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go win, like they're going to the national championship or do that, but I think this year they kind of get over it. It was hard for me to pick against Kirby Smart because I'm like, I don't know though, because it's like I trust Kirby Smart to get the dogs ready. But he's kind of been pissing me off lately with these playoff predictions because every single time I'm like, I know it's the playoffs. But every single time I'm like, oh, I trust Kirby. Oh, I trust Kirby. And in the
I
playoffs,
mean,
and then like
last year basically, oh, like Chambliss just single-handedly took over.
he
Like I'm,
did.
I'm.
Gunnar Stockton was going off too. It was back and forth. But
Mhm.
but it's like, and this year I'll probably keep trusting him because it's Kirby Smart. He's one, like you said, one of the best coaches. But I think Texas. I think they've got it kind of pieced together this year, offensively and defensively. Sure, they might have some ways that can keep them out of it, but I think this is the year that they can. I think this is the year that they can do it. I think this is
I
the year
will
they.
say, if you want a dark horse before we go to the next
Yeah,
conference, if it for your viewers, if you want a dark horse, pick Auburn as a dark horse. I'm gonna leave it at that.
I, you did put down the hot takes. I think they'll be a better team. Um, But yeah, they probably just are on the dark horse scale. They can make a run in that. But we'll just
Hmm.
leave it at that. Okay, ACC wise, who we taking for ACC?
I mean, I'm taking
Oh
Miami.
yeah, we already kind of talked
Taking
about that,
I'm
didn't we?
taking Miami over Louisville, and I'm I already mentioned it. Like Miami's just gonna out talent literally everybody,
Yeah.
and I just trust Louisville a little bit more than SMU because I think Jeff Brom is a top 10 head coach in college football. I like Lincoln Kineholes. Isaac Brown's a top 5 running back in college football. They usually have good receivers. Miami's gonna run away with the conference. It's not even gonna be close. I think Miami's going to be like a top 3 team heading into the playoffs.
I think yeah. I mean, I was kind of trying to compare them to maybe the Ohio State situation last year, and being like, do you think this will be like, hey, they make a run this year, the next year they look like they're supposed to, then they don't? I don't know. This team
Hmm.
looks like they got it pieced together. They got a quarterback that can be maybe one of the possibly one of the top. Like you said, bringing in Tony, their defense being out of the park, and who knows beyond that, and their O line with Crystal Ball being the coach. Who knows what will happen with that court? They look like a team that can be seriously trusted. They're not
Yeah.
like you have a flaw and hey, you're at 9-0. What's your problem? We have a terrible defense. Oh, okay. Next year you're 9-0. What's or 6-0 whatever? What's your problem? Well, we have an inconsistent offense. We have a good defense though. Okay. Well, then
Yeah.
that showed up in the playoffs. That didn't really show up until the final game. Well, even then, I think they still hung in with Indiana. This year looks like they can be a team to be trusted. So that's why I flicked it right to Miami. I believe too that it'll be the Louisville or SMU they beat.
Yep.
Anywho, or Bill Belichick. Anywho, oh yeah, hold on. Sorry.
So
I'll go
you
and
can
say
just go to
Big
your
Ten. I
Big
got
Ten bridge, and I'll let you have the floor here.
I'll go ahead go ahead and got Oregon this year. I wanted to go Ohio State, but my dog is barking. I don't know what. You already saw in Big 12. But
I actually didn't see it, so
oh, okay. Well, those are one of the contenders. Big Ten wise, Oregon, Dante Moore decided not go, probably because of the New York Jets. He decided not to go to the draft. Now this year, potentially be one of the best quarterbacks. I don't think I'm gonna put out right now. I don't think he'll win Heisman, but he potentially could. He's a talented quarterback. Their defense is not to be messed with. They're too much, I think, for a big school. When you go against Ohio, if they go against Ohio State, every time I see them against the Buckeyes, there's besides that playoff game, but when it's not that, it feels like every time I see them against each other, it seems like Oregon's got a reason. It looks like I think for the Big Ten wise this year, I think they've got a talented team. And Dan Lanning, uh, he won one a couple years ago with Dylan Gabriel, with those group of guys. I could see that happening again this year, but it is the Big Ten. They've got talented teams. Indiana, who knows, they could repeat, and I think Ohio State with Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith and all them, and with Matt Patricia led defense, I think they could get it done. But I'm going to put Oregon in the Big Ten this year, winning it over. I think they'll win it over Ohio State this year. They'll get their second ring in 3 years. I think I just hold on. Oh, sorry. I just think I like them more as a team, especially with Moore at quarterback, and they seem dominant about everywhere. But it's gonna be it's gonna be in the trenches with Ohio State. I think that's who they'll go up against. I think it'll leave out Indiana and Michigan and all them out of the Big Ten title
yeah.
game. But those are the two top dogs in the league. It could go either way. But I like Oregon beating Ohio State in this one though.
I like Indiana to beat Oregon in the Big Ten. Up until about a week ago, I had Oregon winning the Big Ten, and I've recently shifted. Um, because I just think Indiana has Oregon's number. I think
Mm-hmm.
Signetti knows how to beat Lanning. I think he knows how to attack on the edges. I think he knows how to attack on defense, especially on the front seven. I think he
Mm-hmm.
knows his personnel well enough to where that even though Oregon out talents Indiana, it's not really going to matter a whole lot. Um, and as for Ohio State, I just don't trust Sayan at quarterback. I think Sayan is very inconsistent. I think a lot of his flaws got covered up last year because the team around him was just so talented and so way above everybody else in the conference talent wise, except maybe Oregon. But Sayan never had good stats against great teams. It was like the thing, right? I think they're both overrated in terms of potential and what they could be and in what they actually did last year. I think Sane just hadn't done a ton.
I think I trust him more this year. I do. I
But
think
that's
some of
fine.
those flaws are going to get covered. He last year, yes, you're right. He came in the voting. He went in the voting, and he looked like he had some, like, especially that Miami game. He looked like he did not look like he knew what he was doing. But I do trust him this year. I think those flaws are going to be covered. Oregon, like you mentioned, that front seven. Indiana Kurt knew what to do with them. Kurt knew what to do and how that offense was able to beat up against that Oregon defense. I mean, doing that was crazy enough. But I think Oregon. I don't know that. I don't think Indiana will do that again. Maybe, but like what you
Hmm.
said, Kurt knows how to do it, especially no matter who he has, and he did it twice last year to them. More
He did.
bigger in the Peach Bowl to them, and that was huger there. So, but I do like Oregon to win it. But it's going to be a tough one for the Big Ten. They've got just up front. They got that total defense that I'm going to be seeing live in action in a couple weeks against these guys. We'll see what they can do. And then you've got an offense that as a quarterback that can run, that can pass, potential number one overall pick because he was supposed to go to the draft last year. I still think it's because he didn't want to go to the Jets, honestly.
Hmm.
Anywho, we're moving on to the Big 12 now. I'll go ahead and let you talk for the Big 12 champion since I talked the last two.
I'm going with BYU over Texas Tech, and I know that's
Okay.
going to surprise a lot of people. And let me explain what I'm thinking. Right? I think Texas Tech's going to go undefeated through the regular season. I do. I think they are. I think they're going to out talent most people that they play. I think they'll play a couple of close games, especially Houston in Week 5. But I do think that that team is going to just kind of run through their regular season schedule. But I think BYU is getting lost a little bit here. They returned 75% of their production from last year. They return, they bring in a top 15 recruiting class and a top 18 portal class. This BYU is a lot better than most people think, right? And I think in a rematch with Tech in the Big 12 championship, I think BYU is going to be a lot more prepared. I think they've learned a lot from the bad losses they took to Texas Tech this
Mm-hmm.
past year. And I think that they're going to be I think Sataki can outcoach Joey McGuire too. And I think that BYU is going to um, kind of get better as the year goes on. I think Bear Bachmeier is a great quarterback. I love that they brought LJ Martin back, right? You bring in a bunch of impact transfers and a bunch of impact freshmen. That team's going to be pretty good.
Yeah,
And I think BYU is going to push in, and I think BYU is going to make the playoff push that they tried to make this past year.
Yeah, I definitely could see it. They're a talented group. They're bringing back starters. Yeah, they are doing that. They're going to be learning from those losses against Texas Tech, and that Texas Tech, what you based off you saying about them being undefeated, it really reminds me of what TCU happened to them. TCU was undefeated the whole year. Then they play someone that was a close one, range in the big in the in the Big 12, and then they lose to them, but they still, of course, I mean, Kansas State would have made the 12-team playoff in that case. But
Yep.
TCU made it the top four. They made it to the national championship before you know what happened. They, Texas Tech and BYU, what you said seems around the same thing. BYU has a lot of experienced guys now coming back. LJ Martin, you said he's one of the most explosive and fastest running backs in the country. Can definitely do a lot of damage to these teams, especially like a defensive Texas Tech. Um, but I'm going to still say Texas Tech wins. I really think that could really happen because BYU looks like they know what they're doing more now. But I am still going to trust Texas Tech. Quarterback
I think
situation
Tech
with
makes the
him.
playoff. I think Tech makes the
Oh
playoff
yeah, I
with
mean they're going to
BYU.
be, and Texas Tech's going to be, I think possibly undefeated. I don't, I would love to be in Stillwater and Oklahoma State beat Texas Tech, but I don't think it'll happen because Texas Tech I think is
Fever
too
dream,
much.
man. It's a fever dream.
It is. It is. Keep it close though. Texas
I
Tech
got
gonna,
you.
but Texas Tech gonna make sure they can win a lot of their games this year. Possibly go undefeated. Both sides are well balanced. They got quite a bit of depth that can do. They don't think they got to worry about much. The problem is when they get to the playoffs, are they gonna do what they did last year? I could probably trust me. I don't know. I maybe could trust more Hammond than what happened last year in the postseason. And for terms of that offense and how that offense ran, I could probably trust more of the players and the depth there. But in terms of Big 12 championship, I think it'll be closer than if they play BYU. But who knows? Because it could be Utah. They could sneak in there. Could be Houston. Very good team this year. So, but Texas Tech, I think, takes the Big 12 title. But I think BYU's got a good shot. Okay. Now, do we say award predictions? Let's go on award predictions. Do you want to read yours off first, off the top 5?
So,
Off the 5, I should say.
My Heisman prediction is going to be Mensah, as is my Maxwell prediction and my Davey O'Brien. I think Darian Mensah is the best quarterback in the country, and I think he is going to be the biggest reason why Miami goes undefeated and is like a top 3 team in the country.
So you really like Miami to win?
Yes.
You really like Miami this year? I mean, they're good this year, yeah.
My Biletnikoff, everybody's picking Jeremiah Smith, right? And I get it. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeremiah's going to get doubled a lot more this year than he did last year, right? Because who's their wide receiver too, right? Ennis, Chris Henry, who's a true freshman, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't have another guy on Tate's level when they had him last year, right? Like they did. So Tate took a lot of the attention off of Smith. And plus, I think Bo Jackson is going to be a good running back for them this year. I think he's going to be much improved, even when he had 1,000 yards last year, right? So I'm actually going to I narrowed it down to 3 contenders. DeCorian Moore from Oregon, Isaiah Satania from Oklahoma, and Nick Marsh from Indiana. The first one I'm going to knock out is Satania because I don't think Oklahoma's offense, even though I think it'll be much improved, I don't think it's going to be good enough for him to win Biletnikoff. I'm going to go with DeCorian Moore from Oregon because I think Oregon's going to pass the ball more than Indiana, and I think he's going to get, Evan Stewart coming back is going to take a lot of the eyes off of Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think DeCorian Moore is going to be a 1,400-yard guy this year. I really like him. I think he is going to beat out Jeremiah Smith, Nick Marsh, and Isaiah Satania.
Okay. Those are good ones. And Mazard definitely, I mean, he's going to be good this year.
And I've got sorry, I forgot the Doak Walker, too. I forgot that
one.
Yeah. This one was a lot tougher for me to think about because there's just so many guys that can actually win it, right? There's so many guys that, you can truly say, yes, they are. If Florida was going to be a better team, I would say Jaden Bow would win it, right? Because I think he's the most talented back in the country, but I don't think Florida's going to be nowhere near good enough. I also considered Quentin Joyner from Texas Tech because I think he's going to get a lot of the bulk of the carries in an offense that's going to run the ball a lot, right? The Doak's just so hard to predict year to year because you don't know what offenses are going to game plan to do most of the time. It's really, really, really tough, but I'm actually going to go another Miami player here, and I'm going to go with Mark Fletcher.
Okay, yeah, Fletcher's good.
I don't understand how good this Miami offense is.
Oh, they'll be good. Fletcher, Tony, Menzo, I mean, they're going to be good. There's definitely no doubt. And
I also want to just say, when we've been talking about Miami's offense, you have not once mentioned Cooper Barcade or Elijah Lofton.
Well, it tell you how much depth they have, or tell me how much talent they have, and you forget some of their really good talent. Well, you combine. That's what I'm saying. I think you can trust more than this year than those other 2 years. Combine them with that good defense, I don't see as many flaws. Potentially, they could make a mark for the national championship. Mm-hmm. All right, next up. All right, let me go to my awards now. Go and cover this. My Heisman candidate, my Heisman contender. He's a candidate. I like to see him play. I like seeing him play, and I think under Freeman, I think he can do a lot. I'm gonna go C.J. Carr. He's a potential Heisman candidate. Last year, he had his great moments at quarterback. I think this year he'll even be better, and I could definitely see him. I wasn't gonna go Arch. I mean, I don't know why he's the favorite. I'm not really sure why he is.
We've already hit on that.
We've already hit on Arch Manning.
I don't really know.
No, CJ Carr, though, he's a very talented quarterback, but Manzart definitely could win the Heisman. But I like CJ Carr lifting up more Notre Dame, possibly taking them and then possibly helping them go to the playoffs, especially if that defense can be good again. They had a tough start last year, and then they kind of started picking back up. I think it was
Yeah.
more with that A&M game. You said though you didn't think Notre Dame could make the playoffs, which who knows if they that possibly could happen. But I think they could sneak. I think they could get in this year. But I think CJ Carr will be a big reason why. He was supposed to be he had a lot of potential last year. There was some parts of it that kind of got to him last year where it was like maybe he isn't as good, but then he started showing some greatness.
So
I
I
think
assume
that'll
he also
happen.
wins the Maxwell and Davy O'Brien for you.
Um, does that use? I don't know. I have. I think I got a couple other players for that. Let me see what I had. Okay. We got Maxwell. I like Jeremiah Smith winning it. I think he's going to be one. He's a very talented. I don't know. I was looking at Williams too, but Ryan Williams doesn't look like he did a couple years ago. But I like Jeremiah Smith.
Wait, hold on. Before you go on, you have Jeremiah Smith winning the Maxwell, but not the Bolitnikoff.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I think there's more of a overall. It's just kind of the player, not individually the receiver. I think overall Tony can maybe go that way. I think Jeremiah Smith. I just like overall his talent, and I think he could be one of the best college football players out there. Malachi Tony, and for terms of receiver, I like how he plays. But there's a difference in that. Maybe you could throw either one off, or maybe you could one of them. Maybe the one of them could win both. There's just very very talented receivers. I loved how I've seen them play. I think they'll be a big reason why those offenses do well this year. And Miami could possibly win the national championship. Same for Ohio State, all them. Oregon QB Dante Moore. I think he possibly for the O'Brien. I think he will be the best overall quarterback. I know I picked CJ Carr as the Heisman for quarterback. These awards, these are the first time I've actually fully looked at them, and I'm like kind of looking at them like, why do they even some of these? Why do they even have? Because they seem like almost similar.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't understand.
That's why I picked Mensah for 3 of the awards.
Yeah, like that makes sense. Because it's like they look the same, but I kind of just went a little different. I kind of just found a spark that I think like
I will say I almost picked Tony for the Bolitnikoff, but I didn't want to pick a Miami player for literally everything.
Oh, I get it. No, that's fine. Because I mean, it makes sense for you to do because Tony's pretty good, and I think he could win Bolitnikoff award based off how I think he's to be the best overall receiver, especially after last year, coming off last year. I think he'll actually produce more being on a team of Miami that can possibly win the Natty, and having a better quarterback in terms of college under Minzar. And showing his speed and agility from last year. Crazy plays he made. Some of those playoff plays were crazy how he did. I think I could see more of that this year. Jeremiah Smith, he's made crazy ones before. I could see. I think he's best overall player. And then L.J. Martin for BYU. We talked about him just a minute ago. We talked about at least BYU. He's going to be a big reason why BYU even has a chance at the playoffs this year. I think, how his speed is. How has been able to be a big impact on BYU previously. I think he could do exactly more of that, and now how more other guys are coming back, he could be a big reason why why they could win the Big 12 title and possibly beat Texas Tech and get through a big front for the Red Raiders and anyone else that comes right through them. BYU's they're gonna be a big reason why the Cougars have a lot of potential this year. But L.J. Martin I think wins one Doak Walker Award. But those are my awards. Anywho, Now it's time for the moment I guess everyone's been waiting for. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put my national champion out there. Miami's very strong potential. But I mentioned earlier, I have faith. They've only done this about every 10 years, but I have faith that I think it happens again this year. I'm going to Ohio State to win the national championship. I know they're one of the favorites. And they might be the favorite. You're like, oh, you're just picking the favorite. No, I actually seriously think because Notre Dame was in that set. I don't know why I didn't think Notre Dame was that good to be like second favorite. Like
their schedule is just really really easy.
That might be it. I mean, they made it a couple years ago, like to the national championship after that whole thing. But I don't think that'll be the case this year. As much as I have CJ Carr win Heisman, but that's of course a team thing. I don't think he's going to do enough to. I don't think they're going to be as talented to make the national championship. But I like Ohio State winning this whole thing. I wasn't just looking through the favorites to be like, hey, no, I'm just gonna pick the favorite. I actually like them. I trust in Matt Patricia. We saw them. I saw in the playoffs that he can get a good defense going there out there, and they're gonna have
Yeah.
that talent. And the offense with Julian saying, I think he'll pick up the flaws. Jeremiah Smith will be really good. Will be really talented on the field. I think Ryan Day's kind of gotten over his well, besides maybe that playoff game, but Miami was kind of doing that to everyone though.
Yep.
But Ryan Day, I think, is kind of getting over his whole, hey, I'm going to lose the teams I should. I think I trust him more than I did a couple years ago after the Michigan loss and win the national championship. Now I think it's going to happen again this year. I think there's just really talented. That defense is going to be probably unstoppable once again. But I definitely could see, it'd be, hey, we'd love to see a Miami Ohio State rematch. That would be something. I'd love to see them play Oregon again. I think Oregon maybe could. Indiana, who knows with Kurt. I don't know about an SEC school would be either. I'm not thinking Texas will. I just think they'll win the SEC title. Georgia, maybe, if we can maybe if Kirby with Gunnar Stockton there, and if that defense can actually play like they're supposed to, like unlike last year and get cooked by Trinidad or whoever at the helm. I mean, Georgia can win a national championship in the SEC drought and actually, shut up the haters and all that.
So, if you've paid attention at all to how I've talked this entire stream, this thing has lasted over an hour and a half.
If you've been willing to stay if y'all have been really staying and watching this whole
if y'all
stream,
have actually stayed for more than 10 minutes of this, I applaud y'all. Because
yes, thank you.
This has been a long time.
Yeah, it didn't help with the technical difficulties either.
It did not. But if you've listened to me talk this entire stream, you can probably already guess where I'm going. I'm going with Miami in a rematch in the national championship to take down Indiana, and I'm saying Cristobal gets his revenge. I think Miami is the best team top to bottom in college football this year. I think if they don't win the national championship, there's going to be a lot of questions about Cristobal's coaching ability, and I think that Darian Mensah is going to elevate this team to a level on offense that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I think that Miami, if we're specifically talking about Miami, I think this could be the team that is actually supposed to be undefeated and actually go far. This isn't like all those flaws they have. I think it'd be them. I think it'd be the Buckeyes. I think it could be like Georgia, if we can trust them. I think it could be Indiana. They can make it again. And I think, I'm not going to put Oregon because once they get, really the thing was with the Ducks,
Oregon's mentally soft.
They get too far and they're like, I don't want any of that. They remind me of the Buffalo Bills. They get there and they're like, that's too deep. They can't go to the full deep end. They're, like you said, mentally soft. So I don't trust Oregon. Anybody from the Big 12, Texas Tech? I don't know about to hang out with those other guys. No. I don't think they've got the talent overall. They've got a good squad of defense. They've got talent on the offensive side. But I don't know about Hammond being the guy on offense to help them. I don't know if they've got the core on running backs and receivers to do that too. To go match up with the Buckeyes or the Hurricanes or even maybe if they had a rematch with Oregon again. I don't think that would happen. The Big 12 just isn't quite there yet. They're going to be like a team that just is. They've got more depth in the ACC in terms of good teams, but they just aren't. They don't have that one team yet. They don't.
No.
But they're going to get there. The Big 12 is going to get there. I think in the next couple years. And they're not. We remember the days of them. Of the Big 12 having some of those squads, but they don't right now. But Texas Tech's their best option. And we talked about the Big 12 having probably more than one Big 12 team in the playoffs. They're getting better. I think with Oklahoma State, possibly, hopefully one day, because with Texas and Oklahoma were there, they made stuff better. And then Oklahoma State was always the one backing them up, was always ones that were ranked and they were good.
And then you had Baylor, then you had TCU.
Yeah, when they were good too. But now they're not. I mean, Baylor's fallen off, and then I don't know when they're coming back to their old self.
TCU is just kind of treading water.
Yeah, they're just sitting there, kind of We'll make a bowl game. I mean, we had that natty run. We're okay, I guess. Baylor's the same thing in basketball. Like, they're just Scott Drew is not the same. Hasn't had
Yeah,
anymore. They remind me of Clemson. They're like the Clemson version in basketball. They're like they used to be on
I'm not
top. They
gonna
used to be
disagree with you.
pretty good. They used to be pretty good. And their coach, I don't know if the coach, I don't know if Scott Drew is like as good anymore. Maybe it's the same thing with Dabo Swinney, like we talked about earlier. If they're not the same team anymore, they'll be good enough. Baylor's been the March Madness team. They'll be good
Yeah.
enough, but they're not me. So it's kind of where we go with the Big 12. They're gonna be they're gonna have that one team eventually. But the Big 10, you got the Buckeyes, you got the Ducks, you got Indiana, and who knows with Kurt again. We're gonna probably have that whole thing where he's gonna say, "Look me up, I win," and then they'll win the Natty again somehow. So who knows
Yep.
what will happen again. So, but this will be. I'm very pumped for this football season. I'm very excited to see what goes on. I'm very excited to be going to those Oklahoma State games and watching them live.
Yep.
They first game will be against Oregon. That'll be a tough one. The first game is against Tulsa, though, on the road. That should be a win. The rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a rivalry name for that? It's the first time I don't know.
If they do, I don't know what it is.
And the Oklahoma State wins all the time, besides last year, and that was barely so.
Yeah.
We need a Bedlam though again. I mean, I know Oklahoma wins more, but it's always a good game. I mean, we need that again in football.
As an Oklahoma fan, I agree.
I know you would. They're playing in basketball and baseball, and
That's
softball.
true. That's
They do.
true.
So we do get more of that, but football is a completely different environment. When I go up there, they were always, they were saying they were talking about
True.
OU, talking about hating on OU and all that, and I'm like,
Yep.
since since I met you and you're an OU fan, and like honestly, I've never really hated OU. I'm not gonna despise them because the people that despise them, the people that really despise them are the people that really have always grown up despising OU. I'm gonna be like, it's whatever with OU. I mean, I'd rather. I have my own issues as an Arkansas fan. I hate on all those a lot of those SEC schools. The other
People
ones,
hate us because they're not us, man. We are a top 5 college football program in history. So
you've done a lot. So we'll see what goes on. And Oklahoma State, they've done really well in football in history, but no, they're not. They're not top 5. But anywho, all right. Well, that's gonna wrap up the stream. Subscribe to TreyDog 60 here. We're on the road to 2K. We are almost to 1.2K. Follow Dem Boys Reports on Instagram. And go follow Travis Talk. The dot's right. I mean, they'll probably, if you look at the name, they'll probably be fine.
the dots are right. They'll look it up and they'll be
Yeah,
good.
I mean, if you search up Travis Talks College CFB, you'll be fine. NFL version of TreyDog Talk stream on Thursday at 3 o'clock. It'll be with my bud Steven. You remember him from the March Madness streams. For anyone that has seen those had some good views on those. But the Selection Sunday ones. But that's going to wrap up the stream. Thank you for whoever tuned in for, like Travis said, at least more than 10 minutes. But whoever watched this stream at all, that really helped us out. Thank you for all the likes. And thank you for any new subscribers on this stream. Well, Travis, it was great for you to be on here. I'm glad we got to talk college football. I'm very excited for this season. And I'm very excited for football season to start. It's been... there was freaking dodgeball on yesterday. I'm like,
Dude, I was at a sports bar yesterday, and they were playing kickball on like ESPN2. It was.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, it's a Sunday with kickball on. Are we serious? We need some football. We got preseason football coming up. NFL though. We got a Hall of Fame game on Thursday, so that'll at least be something. So, some football and. College basketball is only a couple months away, so that'll be we'll you and me can maybe go on the stream for that too. I'd love to talk some college football.
I'd love to do a stream or two for that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely do some stuff. Prepare. That'll be coming up probably around Halloween is probably when we'll do that because they start around then. They start around beginning of November, so we'll probably do that around then. But we'll be up in college in about a week. I move on Saturday. You moving on what, Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay. So I'll be moving on Saturday and. I'll get a little more of a feeling, and then we'll see each other and all that. But that'll be good. Thank you for all tuned in. That'll be the end of the stream. Thank you so much, Travis, for joining. And I'll see y'all next time, Dog Squad. Make sure you guys tune in for more NFL videos and the stream on Thursday. I'll see you next time, Dog Squad. Peace.